There's no more hands raised, then we'll move on to the next question. So that'll be the easiest way. So obviously, if you're not a candidate, don't raise your hand. But if you are a candidate, please, when you have a question that you're prepared to answer, raise your hand, and you're going to get called in order, and just follow what Dumpling asks you to do, and you'll be ready to go.
And there she is as well.
And
Hey,
there
hey.
she is.
There she is.
So Dumpling, I was just laying out the ground rules for everybody that's a candidate. They know that they're going to get a 1-minute introduction each. They know that you will ask them a question. The question can be from the audience, and once they're ready to answer the question, they can raise their hands and you can call on them in order. They get 2 minutes to answer the question, and then we move on. So.
Lloyd, sorry to interrupt you. I have the agenda and order ready if you want me to introduce that.
Yes, that would be wonderful. I would really appreciate that. Go right ahead. And after you've done that, then we'll go ahead and we'll start up the live stream. We'll start up the recording, and then we can get started, and it'll be your show.
Should we start the stream now, or is it better to start afterwards? I'm okay to go live now.
Okay. Peter, do you want to go ahead and send us live? Okay, and I will start the recording from here, and then after that, it is your show, Dumpling.
Thank you, Lloyd. Hi, everybody. Happy
Recording in
Wednesday.
progress.
Got it. We're recording. Welcome to the Circle Forum for Catalyst Circle version 4. For this meeting, the goal is to give each candidate an opportunity to introduce themselves, pitch their ideas, and tell us about their mission. So the voters will have a good idea about who and what they're voting for. I am Bullish Dumpling. Please call me Dumpling. I'm your host today, and also the bouncer if people start flinging feces at each other, and I know what to do. Cook Time is my right-hand woman. She's going to be my timer. She will be timing each candidate, their pitches, and the QA session. The agenda, as Lloyd said, each candidate gets 1 minute to pitch, to introduce themselves, and 2 minutes to take questions from other people. So 3 minutes in total for each person. So use your time wisely. I hope you are prepared. Obviously, if your introduction is less than 1 minute, that's also good. You would have more time to take the questions. But 3 minutes is your limit. We are allowing a 60 extra second grace period for those who are making great points, and I don't want to interrupt them. This doesn't mean that you can just drag on and on, obviously. It's simply to ensure that we have a nice flow. So 3 minutes hard cap, 60 extra seconds reserved at my discretion. So be brief. Now, if you are asking other candidates questions, please be brief with your questions so they have plenty of time to answer you. To the owner of this forum, Drip Drops team, I have a few questions. Number one is the order of candidates. Who are we going with first and who is going the second? Can Drip Drops team or maybe Lloyd shed some light on this?
Sure. We can actually go from the original. There's an original spreadsheet that contains all the nominees, so we can simply start at the top and move toward the bottom. If the nominee is not here, we'll skip to the next name.
Okay, Lloyd, would you be queuing them then? I don't have this list. It will be easier if somebody can do the queuing.
I can pull the list up now and get started on.
Cool. And second question, very important. I'm suggesting a quick bathroom break, 5 minutes for us, about halfway into the meeting. We'll have a lot of people. So if your bladders agree with me, we're going to have a 5-minute break somewhere in the meeting. Okay, no objections. Good. This is live streamed. Great. We can get started. I hope the first candidate is ready. The pressure is on you. Who is our first candidate, Lloyd?
And I am grabbing the list right now as we speak and pulling it up. Apologize for the short delay here. Here it is. And the first candidate on the list. Oh my. That was not the right
The
list.
suspense is killing me, Lloyd.
The suspense is killing. Yeah, suspense is killing me too, because I'm the thought I had the right list here and I did not. I have.
Lloyd, I threw the link in the live chat as well.
You threw it in the live chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a lifesaver, Felix. Let me.
Just maybe will lead you to the main sheet, to the form responsive, and you have just jump over into forum uploads, and there you can go on.
There we are. And it did. It only put me in the main one. The nomination's open. Let's see. Submit your nomination. Nope, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry, Felix, because what I thought was the correct one was not the correct form here.
Welcome to Catalyst. Things may break.
Things may break. Exactly.
I'm not sure if I want to open with that one, Felix.
I mean, we have to keep our rituals, at least a little, right?
It's very on brand. Oh, is that a dog head floating? Or am I hallucinating? Looks like Hosky token is actually waving its paws. Wow, what a day.
Yeah. The issue that I'm running
Either.
into, it seems that I have everything but the list that I needed.
I think it's the right one.
Yeah.
Which I put in the live chat. Still, it's the same
Excel
link.
sheet. The Excel sheet that has all of the names.
Exactly. Yes.
There, I believe that is the correct one. Yeah. Okay. So it is. Oh, I see. It has simply changed a bit from the last time. But the first name on the list I have here listed is Peter Bismarck.
Peter, welcome to the stage. Cook time. Over to you, my timer. Do we have Peter?
Only Peter in the call I see is Peter Walcott, but that's another one.
Okay. Lloyd, could you just make a note if someone's not here? We'll just kind of circle back, just if they do 10 later, make sure we give everybody an opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. So the second name on the list is Ozgur.
Who's Oscar? Oh, there's a guy waving.
Felix, can you please go ahead and give Cook Time access to give her?
Do what?
Can you give Cook Time? She needs to have the ability to. She's the timer, and then we have Ozgur up as well. So Ozgur is.
Hello. Can you hear me finally?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So this is Ozgur. I'm coming from Turkey, and I'm participating Catalyst since 2021 March. And I have missed only the first two funding. Then later on, I have been involved in proposal assessments and veteran community advisor. Then it later turned out to a community proposal reviewer. So I have been trying to active as much as possible. And the Catalyst Circle is something that I have been following up because I definitely see the need to listen to each other. And the Catalyst Circle, I believe, where we can listen to each other. And my PhD is about community of practice, which is very much related with facilitating small groups so that we can build the trust and we can help the process to be improved. So I believe that I can be helpful in the circle. That's why I applied for it. I hope I am on time.
Yes, you're fine. Thank you. If anyone has question for Oscar, please raise your hand. I see Marcus giving you some claps. Thank you, Marcus. Any question for Oscar? Simon Selstrom, welcome. You have your hand up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Marcus. Could you tell us a bit about what your sort of real world professional experiences are?
Thank you very much for the question. So I'm working on the educational technology and working as a researcher in the university. So what I do is that I'm trying to integrate technology into education. And more specifically, I'm working on the digital storytelling, which is very much related with building trust in digital environments so that we can have a kind of sense of belonging in the community. And then we can improve the, let's say that the participants' interest in continuous development. So this is my PhD area.
Thank you. David Baxter. You have your hand up. And Ozgur has only 20 seconds left. David, final call?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't unmuted. I think I needed somebody to help me with that. Hey, as an educator, I was kind of curious, personally, what have you found to be the most effective tool for helping people understand blockchain and get involved in this
1 minute
ecosystem?
left.
So blockchain is, first of all, a decentralized working environment and collaboration environment. And definitely I'm in favor of it. So I would highlight the importance of global connection and the need for the technology to achieve this global collaboration. So I focus on this. I try to understand how we can actually achieve it in Catalyst kind of a working environment. So my task is to first understand it, listen the community, global expectations for it, and then bring people on board, because I'm in the university and I directly communicate with the students. So I highlight what we can do throughout decentralized communication. And I try to increase their internationalization and their collaboration in a global scale. Currently, we have Little Fish Foundation, funded one of the DAO by Catalyst Circle. So I'm collaborating with this, and then I introduce it to the students that I talk to. So as an educator, I take the example of Project Catalyst and bring students on board.
Perfect. Ozgur, you are a bit over time, but that's because David has some technical issues. So moving forward, I suggest everybody make sure you can mute and unmute yourselves so we can have a smooth going.
Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Ozgur. Let's move on to the next candidate.
All right. The next candidate is Mike Nadaba.
Mike.
Okay, Mike, I don't see you here. If you are here, please raise your hand so you move up to the top.
Don't see a mic on
I
mute.
received some important information, Lloyd. David just messaged that it's not possible to unmute oneself. It was on the mod side. So if
Understood. So it's
mod, make sure they can.
As soon as you guys raise your hand, I'll do the ask to unmute as soon as I see that, and that should move things a little faster. So thank you for that, David. Appreciate it. And with Mike Nadaba, we're going to say going once, going twice. And our next candidate is Daniela Belaniuk. Daniela?
Yes, hi. So I'm Daniela, okay. So my name is Daniela. I'm here to support the Cardano community with the project Catalyst. I want to be part of the Catalyst Circle version 4 with collaboration, engagement, and funding. Collaboration to review the strategy for the circle. Engagement, the community in social media. And funding, presenting challenges, topics related to Cardano blockchain, and to reach new markets, of course, right? And no matter what ecosystem they come from, or you come from. We can have the freedom to solve the real world challenges and achieve success in the project Catalyst. Okay.
Thank you, Daniela. Now we
Thank
have
you.
2 minutes for questions. Please raise your hand. We have Zoe and Simon and Rhys. Zoe, do you want to go first?
I'd love to, thank you. Daniela, I'm reading your platform statement, and you answered to what key ideas or issue would you like to champion as a representative in Catalyst Circle. You answer with keywords related to what is learned. Can I please ask you what you mean by that? And also I have to say that there was a little category deleted, so maybe you tick the box and refer to that. You are muted still.
You need to unmute yourself, Daniela. We can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. So keywords related to what's learned is like helping solving like the what, why, and where, and who. Like what is the project we're working on and why solve the problem is important to the project Catalyst. Where is the project taking place and who will benefit with the success of the project. And I don't know what part was deleted. I'm sorry. You mentioned the.
It was categories like people and culture, something like that, network and infrastructure or whatnot.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure about, but I have been having experience with Project Catalyst since Fund 8, with multiple challenges, including developers, ecosystem, and multiple challenge Fund 9, including products and integration. So, yes, of course, I started get interested in cryptocurrency when I got with the Fund 8, with cross-chain collaboration, education, resources, webinar, hackathons, and innovation projects. I hope that answers your question.
You have 20 seconds left.
Okay. Rhys, right?
I don't think we will have time to go through this question, unfortunately, because of time constraints. Okay. Do you mind writing that question in the chat, or what would be a good forum to communicate? Rhys, would you be okay sharing your question in the public chat here? Or maybe
yeah, can do. No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, chat is good. People would like to have that in the chat. Next candidate is Ning Tran. Also, Lloyd will announce the second candidate after Nin, so you guys can be prepared.
Right. So after Nin is Ross Pettitt.
Hey everybody, my name is Nin. Good to see familiar faces. I'm the CEO of Snapbilia. I'm running for Catalyst Circle 4 because I am really deeply involved in Catalyst since Fund 8 in proposal, CA, PA, as well as now challenge team and hopefully BPA forum. And the number one reason for me is because I care about the community. Catalyst has many challenges, including the circle itself. And I hope to be able to work with the Catalyst Circle members on solving at least one or two, and if luck is on our side, maybe more of those critical challenges to make Catalyst more welcoming for anybody, whether they come from Africa or Asia or Europe or US or Latin America. and to make sure that proposals have a great experience, voters have good experience. There's as you know, for those of you, all of you here, we all have been involved in Catalyst for a while, and there's a lot of work to be done, including supporting open source projects, including, for example, advocating for plural quadratic voting to make funding distribution more optimal and more fair for teams that are able to deliver on real projects, but for some reason don't get funded in following rounds, and supporting the community, making this as welcoming as possible and Catalyst as successful as possible, so that we can truly together achieve the highest potential of human collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ning. We have 3 hands up. Because of time constraints, I am going to have to cue you by the order where you raise hands. If you don't have time left, you have to write it in the chat. We have Blockjock, Simon, and Kyle. Blockjock, welcome.
Hey guys. Hey Nin. Hey Dumpling, how's it going? One question for you. It's 2 parts. What would be the one standout that you feel as though Catalyst Circle has done well? And what would be the one standout of what Catalyst Circle has not done so well?
For me, for all the Catalyst flaws and drawbacks, right? The one thing that I really love about Catalyst is that it still funds amazing people, amazing projects, and amazing teams. And good things are being done, and impact is being served globally. And we together are like one community working towards, decentralization, banking the unbanked, connecting the unconnected, providing opportunities for people who don't have them or otherwise wouldn't have access to them, all kinds of opportunities. The one thing that is, I believe, most challenging and on a lot of people's hearts is that, real voting is, for example, one effect where one or a couple of small groups are able to single-handedly decide which project gets funded or not, almost single-handedly, of course. So those are things that, for example, that we need to address.
Okay, my question is about time. I know you're a very busy person. How long will you be able to commit to Catalyst Circle if you get elected?
I will commit as much as I can and as much as it needs to. I am very busy, you're right, Simon, but I always make time for important things, and this is important for me.
So what's your number per week? If you
20, 30, 40, I work around the clock.
Okay, your time's up. Very on brand, on topic. Thank you, Nin. Kyle, apologies, we can't get to your question at this time. Please write it in the public chat. And thank you, Nin. Next up, Lloyd, who's our next candidate?
Our next candidate is Ross Pettitt, followed by Omolola Tafade.
Ross.
Hi, how can you guys hear me?
We hear you fine, Ross. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say I'm not prepared for this, and I don't want to waste your guys' time, and I just want to listen and get an idea of how these things go. So.
Okay, so you're here to observe and learn. Is that correct, Ross?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for being upfront. If it's all right with you, then we'll move on to the next candidate, Ross.
Yeah, that's fine.
Lloyd.
Okay. Our next candidate is Omolola Tafade, followed by David Baxter.
Hi. Can you hear me? Awesome. Hi, my name is Omolola Tafade. I'm from Nigeria, and I work with Snapbrillia. And one reason actually I really want to that I offer to go for a seat in Catalyst Circle is to get up to help young ones, females, to get into tech and also to get into Cardano, because all up to the time I started working with Snapbrillia, I really did not know about Cardano. And joining Cardano, I got to know that got to know a lot of projects that were funded, impactful projects that would actually help the world, and also to get help females get into tech, because right here in Nigeria, tech Web3 is seen as a male dominated industry. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Any questions for Omolola?
Hi, I'm just wondering, could you tell us a little bit about your other type of leadership experience from other fields of life?
Okay, thank you for that. When I was in college, I was a member of ISEC. ISEC is leadership opportunities for youth, in which we get to work like a rework settings. We get to work in different areas. I was in the human resource aspect, in which I was able to recruit new set of members into ISEC. Then also I was part of the leadership team in my university days. So yeah.
Zoe.
I want to ask, what is your participation in Catalyst outside of SnapBrillia?
Okay, so for now, that is main reason why I'm actually looking into becoming a member of the Catalyst Circle, because I really want to make an impact in Cardano. And the fact that I've been I'm actually the Catalyst representative. Catalyst engagement for SnapBrillia, in which I reach out to projects. I would really like to use my skills in marketing, to use my skills in human resource to help Cardano make Cardano more impactful. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Next candidate.
Our next candidate is David Baxter, followed by Ivan Kawananda.
David.
Hello. So I'm David Baxter. A lot of you know me and a lot of you may not. I'm starting the Blockchain Learning Center, which was funded through Catalyst initially, as well as a coffee shop. We're starting these two organizations to help workers and help to alleviate problems related to poverty. That's kind of where our hearts are, and to teach people and make it more clear and simple to traverse this new kind of decentralized ecosystem that we're all building together. We think a lot of these tools are going to help to elevate people out of poverty and bring about more democracy and fairness, and that's what we care about at the Blockchain Learning Center, and that's the kind of attitude that I would hope to bring to the circle.
Questions for David? Thank you, David. That was nice, short and sweet. Yes, we have Steve and then Blockjock. Steve, you go first.
Thanks, Dumpling. David, I'm curious, with your experience in Catalyst, I'm wondering what you feel about how proposals are assessed and how that could be improved.
You need to come off mute, David.
Good.
I can hear you.
Yeah, that was the moderator wasn't letting me. Well, I think there's definitely some improvement to be had there, specifically around navigating that process. At least when I went through the process, that was kind of what I had the most trouble with, understanding where the phases were, what each of them consisted of, and having kind of my expectations set more clearly. So I would say the way I'd like to improve that is by making the processes more clear for people, simplifying them and delivering that education. I think that there's probably a lot of deliberation to be had about how to change those to make them more effective too, but I don't have any of those thoughts prepared right now.
Thank you, David. Blockjock.
Thanks, Dumpling. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on the current state of Catalyst Circle and what you would do to improve it, so to say it would have more impact or more teeth, for example, having to do with how we would go about, in essence, steering the ship a little bit as we move on to Voltaire.
I think my first thought would be more community involvement in a more real way, possibly having things that the community can regularly vote on, decisions in an advisory capacity that might help the Catalyst Circle feel as though it's reflecting the opinions and the feelings that the community has more precisely.
David, your time is up. Hate to be the butthole. We are under time constraint. So thank you everybody for your forgiveness when I interrupt you. And I am giving you 60-second grace period, just so you guys know. So if you can, try to be brief with your self-intro so you have time for the Q&A. Thank you, Blockjock. Thank you, David. We're moving on to the next candidates.
Our next candidate is Ivan Kawananda, followed by Stevani Onko.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivan Kawananda. I'm from Indonesia. So yeah, I love Cardano since I know about cryptocurrency, and actually this year I started to join the Catalyst, and it's very exciting. And I also became a voter, proposer, and also PA. And I'm very excited. I'm very good in community. I join every communities. Blockchain communities in my country, and you know, I'm just very excited and read a lot of proposals, and I feel like, oh, actually, like there are a lot of proposals that need, you know, like improvement and stuff. That's why I feel like, oh, yeah, I really hope that I can help and add value and benefit into the Catalyst and also Cardano ecosystem in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Questions for Ivan? Zoe.
Hey, I've read your statement and I wanted to ask what your experience is, because you say you would want to champion the process of the selection of proposals and also basically how to identify scammers. What is your experience for which brings these skills to this?
Oh, so I don't have a lot of skills for like type or something, but I read almost all the proposal at this fund, and yeah, and I found a lot of like proposal like really like they don't finish it, anything like that. So I feel like we can think about how to, you know, give some standards for them to be available for voters to vote it and vote them, and also probably we can focus on education, make sure like in every country we have good education for those people who want to give the proposal and also recommendation and stuff. So we can find a lot of good proposal and really can verify the people. So yeah, it's just like ideas like we can talk about more with the team, of course, if I'm elected.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Zoe. Who's our next candidate, Lloyd?
Our next candidate is Stevani Onko. I don't see Stevani in the participant list. I'm also, next up would be Sean Lynch, who I also don't see. And then the following would be Lee Yost. So, and who I do see Lee here. So I think we may be moving ahead to Lee Yost.
Lee, welcome to the stage.
Lee, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Sorry, my phone froze up. Hi, I'm Lee. I'm running for Catalyst Circle. I was nominated by another member of the community. I'm an electrician with 20 years in the electrical field. I am a foreman on job sites, currently doing service. The reason why I chose to accept this nomination is because we have plenty of developers and people with PhDs. However, I feel like the entire community needs to be represented on the circle. So that's why I decided to take it. I am very keen on governance, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Lee. You have a question from Blockjock. Blockjock.
Hey, Lee. Hey, guys. So I had a couple questions. One is what tools do we need to create an environment that makes it easier for an end user to participate in Catalyst Circle or in Catalyst period?
Lee needs to be unmuted by the mod. And guys, once you start speaking, just don't unmute yourself. Otherwise, there's just more hassle. Please.
So
Yes.
I think some tools that are needed to make it easier is we need to have wallet integration and we need to have everything in one place. So when new users are coming in, they don't have to go to multiple platforms to be able to access Catalyst. That's the main thing. When you have to download a voting app, have a QR code, have a PIN, and then some people, you know, get scared, make sure that it's actually set up and they reset it up and then it messes them up. So it needs to be a seamless experience inside of the wallet.
Okay. Then my second question would be, would a structure that consisted of a chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and community engagement officer help the overall effectiveness of Catalyst Circle?
Yes, I believe so. Expecting the people that sit on Catalyst Circle to not only deal with all the tasks of Catalyst Circle, but also go out into the community and engage with the community and keep them informed is a very tall order.
Okay. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Blockjock. Over to our next candidate.
So the next candidate on the list is Patrick Roncato. I do not see Patrick in the room. If he is here, please raise your hand. And without Patrick, our next is Boaz Balume. Boaz, would you please, you are here, I believe.
Yes, someone said.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, definitely it'll be Boaz's turn.
Boaz, your time is starting now.
Good. I have to talk about myself.
You will give a self-introduction or introduce us to your mission, and then you will take questions. You have 3 minutes in total, and the time has started about 30 seconds ago.
Thank you. I have to watch the camera, please.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, sorry. Bandu Balume Boaz from Goma Town, DR Congo. A stake pool operator, and I'm 27 years old. A French speaker, but I try to speak also English and Spanish, spoken in Central Africa and Eastern, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, and I accepted that nomination because I think
Well, you might want to turn off your camera because you're lagging. If you don't have camera, maybe you have better connections because we can't hear you properly now. Yes.
Really? Can you hear me, please?
It's a bit better now, yes.
Okay. Great. Bandu Balume Boaz from DR Congo. I'm a bachelor. I'm 27 years. I speak French and I try to speak English and Spanish. My mother tongue is Swahili, a language spoken in the middle of Africa and the Eastern countries. I accepted this nomination because I think by me, many people from my community can follow Catalysts and Cardano in general, because I think they need a leader from the local community. I thank you. Questions are welcome. I don't know if it was about that you were asking for, because I'm a bit late.
Question for Boaz, anyone? Okay, if no questions, we move on to the next candidate. Thank you, Boaz.
Okay, thank you.
The next candidate is Wana Atyar. And I don't see them here as well. The next candidate is George Lovegrove, and George is followed by Patrick Tobler.
Hey guys. Yeah, so I'm George. I've been part of Catalyst since about Fund 3. I've done all of the roles of Catalyst, and basically that's all I've been kind of working on since kind of joining the community, after realizing how much potential there is in Catalyst. But as we all know, there's a lot of work to do. The most recent work I've been focused on is everything to do with funding categorization. So if you've seen anything to do with funding categories, that's the work I've been doing. I know I've been talking to a lot of people in this room about it for many, many times, but it is a really important topic. And for that reason, and IOG are very acutely aware of the issues with challenge settings, it is something that they are looking to resolve it by kind of like Fund 11. So this is a very good time for me to kind of come up, kind of represent that kind of area that needs improving, as well as other areas I'm going to be working on in the next month, like proposal standards, to then help, take community feedback and make sure when that change comes in, that it's going to be a good change that people have, had chance to get feedback on, and it keeps on, moving in the right direction. So that's my intentions.
Thank you, George. Yes, we have Steve. Before Steve, I have a quick question to clarify. George, do you work for IOG?
No.
Okay, thank you. Steve.
Thank you, Dumpling. George, was reading your statement a while ago, and you've been talking with IOG about the challenges for Fund 11, as if some of your influence is going to rub off there. Congratulations. I think that's great. I think what I'm more curious about is what are your thoughts about the volume of proposals, and how do we handle that?
Yeah, so this is actually a really good reason why proposal standards is really important. Because if we can really think about what data structures we need for proposals and what actually makes a good proposal, we can think about, okay, from that good foundation, how can we better sort, filter, rank, all of the things that come on top of good data structures, so you can actually kind of go through those proposals a higher amount. I lean on not trying to limit the proposals that come in and become better at how we handle those proposals. So filtering, sorting, ranking is one thing. Another area is things like this kind of priority setting from the community. If we could integrate that into a system where we can have, here's the top priorities, and we know which proposals match those priorities, that's a really good piece of data for the sorting, ranking, and all of that. So this is why I'm working proposal standards next, because it leads to a lot of really good changes after funding categorization, which still is, in the midst of hopeful change in the future.
Thank you. Rhys, I saw your hand up and down. Do you want to ask a question to George?
No, I was actually going to kind of say what Steve was saying, so I was covered. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, George. Next. I believe it's Patrick Tobler. Patrick.
Our next candidate is Patrick Tobler, followed by Nebiyu Sultan.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Patrick. I'm founder of NMaker. We do Web3 infrastructure on Cardano. So I see myself as representative of the Cardano builder community. And the reason why I'm here is actually because I think that the current Catalyst system isn't really working that well for the people that are actually building stuff on Cardano and that are actually creating impact. So my goal is really to make sure that Catalyst is able to provide impact and fund the right proposals. And to me, it's always about accessibility and bringing more people into the space. So just, focusing on that for the whole journey, user journey, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Any question? I'm sure you have questions for Patrick. Yes, Zoe.
You named builder. Is that also like your community that you want to represent in the Catalyst circle?
Yes, I see myself as a representative of the builder community, of the people that actually run businesses and projects on Cardano.
Okay, nice, thank you.
You have 1 minute left if anyone has questions for Patrick.
Feel free.
Yes, Kyle.
Hey, Patrick, could you maybe describe, your idea of the user journey and what's not happening right with Catalyst, and maybe what you can bring to the table as a builder and a successful operator of a business on Cardano?
Yeah, so basically, I think there are two main things which we need to improve. One of them is, as I mentioned, accessibility. At the moment, Catalyst is very inaccessible. You cannot do anything without downloading an app and so on. And also the information is very centralized. So we need to figure out a way to actually get the information about Catalyst and all the proposals to the community so that they really know, what it's all about. So I think, because that is what I've been doing with NMaker in general, I think that's where I'm pretty good at. And then the second part to me is the assessments. So I do think that the current way proposals are assessed is not representing basically their impact and their feasibility. And those two should be the main things that we focus on. Instead, the assessments are just, do you follow the guidelines? If you follow the guidelines, you have a high ranking. That's why you receive funding and so on. So it's not basically in the best interest of the Cardano community to actually vote for the things which have good assessment. So I want to kind of tackle that.
Thank you. Nin.
Hey, Patrick. You mentioned that it's important for you to onboard new people and make it as accessible. Two-part question. First is, what is the best way to get new people involved in Catalyst? And second is, what is the best way to disseminate the information about Catalyst to the community?
So I think the best way to get new people into Catalyst right now is actually simply by making the user experience from the application layer better. And I know that IOG is already working on that. So it's not something I would be focusing on. So it's more about actually making the information more accessible. And there, I think we really need to figure out a way to build platforms like, for example, Lidonation, which I think is an amazing platform, that can transport these information in a way to the community and are open, accessible, easy to use. And then ideally, you can also directly vote from them instead of having, to go to a different platform. So I would try to figure out a way to do that in some sort of sense. And I don't know how to yet, but that's basically it.
Thank you, Patrick. Your time is unfortunately up. So Max van Rossum, if you don't mind, please write your question in the chat. We're moving on to the next candidate.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is Nebiyu Sultan, followed by Julian Montag.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We hear you fine.
So my name is Nebiyu. I'm currently, I've been in Cardano since 2018 when Charles first came to Ethiopia, and I've been around since Fund 5 in the Catalyst area. I am a funded proposer for a wallet that we're developing here, so I would consider myself in the developer ecosystem. And what idea which I would like to implement for version 4 of Catalyst is mostly on connecting the developers or connecting funded proposals to increase the collaboration. I think there's a lot of great projects that are out there that are not visible to the community, and we need to bring light to those and also increase the collaboration. There is a lot of redundant work which I'm seeing. Even some open source projects there's a lot of repetitions, which I feel. And I feel if we were able to connect with each other and work together, we'll be able to go farther, faster. And that is my base for this round.
Thank you. Questions for Nebiyu? Final call. Questions for Nebiyu before we move on? All right, we're moving on to the next candidate. Please, guys, if you want to ask questions, be prepared. We have very short margins.
Our next candidate up is Julian Montag, followed by Hosky.
So hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Thanks for all the participants. There were very inspiring motivations behind every speech I heard so far. So my name is Juliane. I'm with the Catalyst community since summer 2020. It seems like an OG, but I still look good, I think. So I'm a fund member 1 proposer. I have had all the roles you can imagine within a project Catalyst. And I know what it means. Like having the user experience is absolutely on. So I have observed every positive development, but also all the suffering of just being a very young project and trying to improve all the time. So in the first place, I think for me, it's the community at the center to really go along with the mission of Cardano that's saying we want to create a robust governance system. We want to create standards and high ethical standards at any stage, at any point in time. So I think being a part of the Catalyst Circle is part of that work. We can contribute in a way that's, I think, must be unbiased and must be very with a critical eye, very professional, and trying to angle this from different perspectives. On my perspective, I also think that it's about improvements along all the process, but it's also about what's the future of Catalyst. And that's what I was always pursuing is what's the plan for in 2 years, and 3 years. I really would like to think about that, because then we might also open other doors of improvements that might come up and we can anticipate. So that's it.
Thank you, Julian. We have Blockjock. Hope you're not driving, Blockjock.
No, of course not. I'm not driving. I'm sorry, I am driving, Dumpling. I apologize, but I am being safe, I assure you. My question is, in your opinion, what would be a more impactful governance structure, considering the fact that up till now, the Cattle Circle and its design in its current state seems to be a little less than impactful?
So I think you should go to that question with a brief analysis of the origin of what you're stating is might be the problem. I think why we are here is one of the improvements we can make. Like when did we have a voting mechanism like that? We haven't had it. When did we have a platform to really present and know the people that way? We haven't had it. So I think it comes, first of all, with a human layer that's also stated as being at the core in the Catalyst Circle, right? So it's starting with the people and who is on the circle to really drive quality. And I don't want to offend any other circle. Actually, I've been a circle member in a circle round 1. So I think that's the origin where we can start taking action.
Simon.
Thank you. I asked the question to Nebiyu in the chat, so that's one. But secondly, what is your unique selling point, Julian, in terms of perhaps experience or what you can bring to the table relative to other candidates here?
Well, you know, selling points are for the corporate world. Actually, I'm here because I really totally engaged to this community. I'm part of Gimbal Labs, and we have been grown since 2 years. It's dear to my heart that Cardano and the governance and the community is flourishing, because I know this is a powerful way to do things differently.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Simon. Julian, I do think you look fabulous, so no worries there. And thank you for coming up. Our next candidate.
Our next candidate also looks fabulous. It is Hosky. And Hosky will be followed up by, I believe, Curtis Myers, because I do not see Mohammed or Mombalaji here. So I believe it's going to be Hosky followed by Curtis Myers.
Oof, I don't speak dog. Let's see if he speaks English. Welcome, Hosky.
Hello, everybody. I hope I'm coming through clear.
Yes.
You all know me as Hosky. I am the person behind the Twitter account of Hosky Token. And I decided to run for Catalyst because I see that there was a lack, first off, of participation. 100 candidates or 100 people voted last time. Number 2, I think there needs to be more transparency and accountability. So what I would say to those listening is, if you want Project Catalyst to remain very private, very inner circle-like, pardon the pun, then you don't want to vote for me, because my intention here is to get more people involved, to encourage others to participate in Cardano governance, and to make it very public, whether it be a problem within Catalyst. I think that's part of being transparent. That's part of being, or holding the circle accountable, myself included. So that would be what I would have to say in regards to why do I want to participate in the circle? Because I think we need more participation, not just from people that are, already in the know, but your everyday user of Cardano.
Thank you. Any question for Hosky token? Zoe.
Hey Hosky, what is your participation in Catalyst previously? What roles did you do? And because I don't want to out you, we know you're Anon, but yeah, just so we have an idea of what you experienced.
Sure. So I've only ever participated in Catalyst as a voter. I've looked through the proposals. I did not, unfortunately, at the time, have enough time to become a reviewer. I've only really participated as a voter. So when people talk about representing the everyday average user of Cardano, I think that's what most users, or that's the aspect most users will participate in. And that's the reason why I want to run for Circle, is because I am an everyday Cardano user. Outside of this, I'm just a user of Cardano. I love Cardano, and I want to encourage others like myself that are your everyday people to participate in governance. And unfortunately, as it stands right now, Catalyst isn't the most, or Catalyst Circle is, Catalyst project isn't the most attractive to your everyday user, as you have to jump through too many hoops in order to participate in governance. So educating the community of what Project Catalyst is, educating the community as to what they can do or how they can participate, I think is a very big priority. So we need to go to where our customers, not customers, but community is in Cardano, that being whether it be Twitter, Discord, or wherever they're engaged, and bring them into Catalyst, which I think that outreach currently is lacking. Okay,
you need to be brief with your answers. Kyle.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I've seen chatter about, what influencers can bring to the community and whatnot, but I think you just addressed that. So thank you.
He's gesturing towards his face. I think that's his answer. 20 seconds left. Rhys, do you want to shoot your shot?
Yeah, thanks, Dumpling. Hosky, I just wanted to know what the most important improvement that you want to address, besides just like outreach or communication to the community. Like, what do you actually want to tackle?
I think UI UX is the main place we got to start. It's easier to use an application like Tinder that really has very minimal impact than when compared to, say, voting right now. That app was horrible. The user interface, it was not the best. So
time is up. Sorry, Hosky. Can't give you extra time. Others don't get it. If you want to add your answers to the chat, everybody can see that. That would be great. Thank you, Rhys. Thank you, Hosky. We're moving on.
All right. Thank you, Dumpling. And our next candidate, we had Mohammed up and Mobalaji. Neither of them appear to be in the chat room. So if either of you are here, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we are moving on to Curtis Myers, followed by Quazar.
Thank you, Flynn. So yeah, first I want to say that I love seeing the energy of collaboration in this room. It's really good to see. But you'll find me in almost every day of the week in some of the spaces in Cardano, such as Gimbal Labs and Snaprilia, Little Fish, Catalyst, kind of mix around, Swarm. I'm kind of all over the place. Some of my previous experience in here, I've done the voter. I did some of the CA roles. I helped with proposals early on. I've been in Catalyst for about a couple of years. I'd say Fund 2, Fund 3 is about when I started. This is definitely where I find home. These conversations is what energizes me. It kind of keeps me going. It brings the passion back into my life. I'm currently working on building a DAO to support the Cardano network ecosystem and an education platform to onboard everyday users to Cardano. There's a lot of things that I'm interested in helping improve in the Catalyst Circle itself, so it's kind of tough to just pick a particular point. But if I were to use an example, so creating standards for some of the repetitive management tasks and utilizing AI to make some of those tasks easier, gathering input from previous circle members to start a knowledge management strategy that retains value gained from those circle experiences, and then the outreach to our community itself.
Questions?
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, questions.
Dagwell.
Hey Curtis, how you doing, man? I was wondering, sir, do you have I do a lot of studying with you in Gimbel's lab, and I was wondering if you have any processes on learning that you think you could take from those classes and implement in Catalyst. Just one example.
Oh, that's actually a very good question. I have a personal process that I use, and it may not work for everybody. So a lot of times when I'm developing out, say, the education platform that I'm working on and with Gimbal Labs, it's getting that input from the others and working and finding out what works well for them, and then developing a system that's a bit more universal. My system may not work for everybody else. And so that each person has a specific purpose when they're coming in, an intention when they come to learn something. So developing a structure that helps them with that process instead of refines or restricts them, to me is a better approach.
Thank you. Right on time. Now, motion to take a 5-minute bathroom break. We're about halfway through. If you object, you can let me know, but it doesn't look like it. I know I need it. So guys, take a 5-minute.
I can't imagine anyone objecting at this point. So by all means.
Somebody has iron bladder. I don't know. We'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. See you soon.
Hey, Felix, how you doing, man? It's Benjamin.
Hey there.
Good to see you, man. Thanks a lot for sending that writing thing over. I was wondering if you guys have a place in the Discord on Swarm to talk about those different bounties and whatnot. Thought I'd ask you if that's all right.
Reach out in DM directly, because that's a little bit off.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just thought it was a break. Yeah. Oh, no worries.
But I shoot your link definitely. Yeah, and if you want to go into some small talk conversations or whatnot, actually everybody's able to unmute themselves for a while. So if you want to say something, Just go.
Can I ask a quick question, the hosts? I think we're halfway through. If we have some extra time, 20, 30 minutes, how should we deal with the time? Maybe some people want to do like a live AMA. Want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. If everyone's interested in continuing and we have the time remaining, it's absolutely fair to do that.
Cool.
That sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. More questions are always good. More information.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, we could ask, maybe even have some possible suggestions from those who have been a part of Catalyst Circle and what's worked really well, they feel like, and honestly, what could be changed, and, you know, hopefully allow Catalyst to be a little bit more, you know, have a rudder, I guess, let's say.
Lockjaw, are you off the road? We saw you driving, man. That was not safe.
I am currently in the truck, but off the road. So yes, but I've been texting, and okay, I won't say any of that. Let's just say I'm a professional driver.
Everything is on camera.
Everything's on camera. I drive for a living. Literally, I'm a glorified driver, but I own my own business. So it's one of those things. But yeah, it's very difficult to try and find time for these things. But I really want to find time for these things because I absolutely love Cardano and the people in it. And I'm really stoked that this particular forum is available to me. So just makes everything better, you know?
Okay, 1 minute left of our break. Guys, apologies for being a very strict person today. We are time constrained, so be prepared.
We kind of like it after all this anarchy, Dumpling. So thank you.
It's actually really great structure. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
who's our next candidate, Lloyd?
Our next representative is going to be Quazar, followed by, it's Kevin Moore, but again, I don't see Kevin logged in, and that would be followed by Tomas Mathew. So we do have about 5 candidates left total of who's present here right now.
Ample time for a discussion later. Hope you guys are ready.
Absolutely. So we're up. Quazar's up first, followed by Tomas Mathew.
Quazar, you have 20 seconds to take a breath before you start. So deep breaths.
Thank you. How's my sound coming through?
Deep and booming.
All right, thanks. That's how I want it.
Cook time, can we start the timing? Okay, thank you. Quazar.
Yes. Okay, so my name's Derek. Most of you know me as Quazar. I've been in Project Catalyst since the beginning. I've been in IdeaScale since September 2020. Part of Catalyst Circle. I have I've been in every role in Catalyst that there is, from part of the circle to voter to lurker, and I've seen it all. I've seen Catalyst progress from Fund 4, which had the hiccup, Fund 7, which we introduced a lot of new changes, up until Fund 9, that we saw what happened. And Fund 10, this huge change with the D-reps coming on in this new circle. So my main goal and objective is to stay fundamental and true to the Catalyst Circle's main goal, which is to facilitate communication. If we can communicate and keep that open, keep people listening and talking, then there's no UI, no politics that we can't overcome. So as long as we facilitate the communication, where we'll be next year will be beyond our wildest dreams, only if you vote for me.
That's both of you. Right, question time, Dagwell.
Quazar, so I really think you're like a walking Catalyst encyclopedia, and that's you're everything. So that's cool. But hard question, here it comes. You bring up a lot of points and things that are, that are tough sometimes. What have you learned from your interactions with Catalyst Circlists on ways to deal with conflict that arise that you think is a good way to get through these situations?
Thanks for the question there, Dagwell. That's a tough one. What have I learned is patience and listening and being able to walk away, take a break, and come back and address something, after having time to process it. That's the biggest thing that I've learned through conflict resolution and disputes or arguments over small things or big things.
Rhys.
Thank you. So you're already on the circle, which is great. What have we done badly and what needs to be done better?
First of all, let me just say that Circle version 1, 2, and 3 all did some awesome things. We've seen specifically with Catalyst Circle 3, they made changes. They changed the things in idea scale, changed the community advisor, that name to proposal assessor. These seem like small things, but it took mountains. I'd like to thank everybody that's been on the circle. And also all of the community participants that have engaged with IOG and Catalyst. And I probably kind of forgot the question there. What's it done? What has the circle done wrong or could have done better in? Representing itself not as this hierarchy or structure that has any control or function, as opposed to just being this communication channel and supporting the community as the governing decision-making entity. The circle here is to prop up the community and the communities to facilitate the things that they've recognized and noticed to make those changes or request them to be reviewed by IOG. So ultimately, I feel like the circle's positioned itself in a way that, to no one's fault, it's just how we think as humans, like it's this body above or outside of Catalyst, when realistically, circle is at the bottom and should be lifting up the community.
Thank you. Moving on to the next candidate. Thank you, Quazar.
Our next candidate is Tomas Mathew, followed by Darlington.
Hey, Tom here. And yeah, basically I started out, my interest in blockchain many years ago, working on Ethereum and projects on other chains. More recently, research groups focused on governance and not developing, but sort of aggregating standards of what works, what doesn't. Started actually working and building on Cardano last year, about mid-year. Helped start the ADAO community, and now CEO of Summon. And that's really what we're doing there, is building these tools that allow people to coordinate on the blockchain. And personally, I think that along with these user experience issues, we could solve a lot of problems within Catalyst Circle by using some of these tools. I'm really happy to see us starting to use things like the drip drops voting system, because that makes it more exciting for people. It not only helps to facilitate this coordination a lot easier, but like you said, it gets people interested, and it's much easier to get them involved and allow them access. So that would be one of my main focuses, is identifying these tools. Like I know somebody mentioned Lido Nation, and I think it's really important that we use these tools, especially these open source tools, because that's what promotes this progression or the evolving of these tools, is that other communities, other passionate people can continue to evolve them. And so, yeah, that's sort of why I accept this nomination. I see a lot of places that we can put these tools into practice.
Thank you, TCT. Jock.
Hey, Tom, I'm just curious as to, under the current structure of Catalyst Circle, do you feel like some of the things that you're wanting to implement that will make it a much more useful tool, or putting in useful tools, do you feel like this particular structure within Catalyst Circle is conducive to what you're going to attempt to bring into it to make it better? Sorry, I'm trying to get that out.
No, yeah, I think it's perfect, right? I think any time where we have a group of people, especially when we have a group of people that are spread out across the globe, that's why blockchain is so attractive to organizations that try to coordinate like that. So yeah, I think Catalyst Circle is a great starting point. And hopefully, by refining these tools and systems within Catalyst Circle and some of these other communities we see in Cardano, we're able to then, grow and implement them into larger systems like Catalyst itself.
Thank you. Zoe.
Hey, thank you. I wanted to ask what communities you represent, because I get the feeling that we have a lot of technically highly competent people here, but Circle is not just a problem solution delivery or project management department. It's really also a communication channel from the community to whole Catalyst and also obviously IOG. So where do you see yourself linking stuff, and what?
Well, I mean, me personally, I don't do much development. I'm more of a engineer, problem solver, organizer. That's what I've been able to do in these communities like ADAO and Summon. And so that's really where my strong suits lie, is sort of identifying not only these tools, but these people, and helping bring them together. Sort of trying to streamline collaboration, because right now I think you're right. We have a lot of brilliant people, a lot of brilliant tools.
PCT, my apologies. Your time is up after the grace period. If you have anything to add, please write in the chat. And thank you, Zoe. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Our next candidate is Darlington, followed by Marcus Ubani.
Wow, perfect timing. I had to duck out and I just got back in. Hello everyone, my name is Darlington Kofa. I'm a co-dreamer at Lido Nation. I've participated in Catalyst since Fund 3 as a lurker and then a voter in Fund 4, proposal, Fund 6, PA, VPA. I'm a Catalyst toolmaker and a Catalyst educator. Via lidonation.com, I have proven my ability to take information in silos, organize them, correlate them in a way that helps the community digest and see different angles of the information. As a Circle rep, I will be working towards doing that for other parts of Catalyst. I would like to move the needle on the disclaimer of lack documentation. I will be championing documentation in the Circle. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lido. Dagwell.
Lido, how you doing? Love your product. Got a quick question. What do you think, based on your data collection, what is the most glaring statistic about Cardano that you want to fix besides documentation that you see with the data you've collected?
That the lure to fix is super strong, but documentation is a massive task. So unfortunately, I'm not at the fixing yet. When we can remove the lack documentation from the Catalyst disclaimer, I think then I would be at the fixing point. Sorry.
Thank you. Steve.
Thank you, Dumpling. Darlington, I'm curious, I'm aware of, your early proposals were involved with getting Catalyst information, Cardano information translated. And after this time, I mean, that's, it's like a year and a half now that you've been in the community. And I'm wondering what you see as the most organic way to grow the involvement around the world in this process, Circle and Catalyst governance, like how can we more effectively make that happen, that they're actually more involved? I mean, it does happen, right? It is happening. I just kind of feel like, and I've talked about this, I feel like this is the future, right? We want to bank the unbanked, all those billions of people around the world, and yet, it's mostly Europeans, North Americans talking. And I'm just wondering how you felt about that.
Right, and goes back to the documentation piece, right? Like having information that can be disseminated in languages in different parts of the world, in different platforms. my agenda around documentation is not just to create the documents, but once we have them, make them in a way that other tools and other communities can program against them and display them in however they need to do it for their local communities. The company like the Nation has a lab in Kenya where we lead community efforts around there with people on the ground that are teaching about Catalyst in Swahili. So once we have the documentation, there's already a team that's at least available to translate into Swahili, which could then be a template for other languages as well. But having the thing and then giving people opportunity to take that thing and adopt it for their community, I think is the next step. I'm not sure about step 3 and 4, but I would like to get to step 2, which is documenting everything.
Thank you, Lido. Good on time. A warning for everyone, don't ask Lido to take a picture for you. He will take a selfie. Right, moving up to the next candidate.
All right, we are down to the final 2 candidates that are in the room, and that is Marcus, followed by Aleutian.
Hi, that's a tough one. Right after Darlington, like you could put me after Hosky. That's quite the same for me. I'm Marcus. I'm from Germany. I'm here since Fund 7, constantly learning ever since. And I want to help transforming Catalyst into an inclusive learning platform for Cardano. Because I think only educated voters can provide meaningful decisions for our network. This means helping to create actionable items and making them visible. And if we do not get actionable items, I believe we should consult and learn with the community into the open where possible. I, for one, could do this in the Twitter space that we're hosting every Tuesday in the European Cardano community. And in the open working groups we have created around MICA and SSI. I'm a generalist with background in marketing, legal, web development, and experience in the service industry. And if you want to have a concrete example of defining standards, the circle nominees, for example, in the Cardano forum are not tagged with the same tags. So my statement, for example, is missing the circle tag. This creates different exposure, and this needs to be solved. We operate a small stake pool, and my research is and business dedication is on midwifery and how it can work with blockchain. I've been around as a voter, proposer, and proposal assessor, and a team member of a community. Do I know everything about Cardano and Catalyst? Hell no. But I'm here to learn, and this naturally should lead me to ask also some of those so-called stupid questions that we need to answer for newbies. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Marcus. Zoe.
Hey, Marcus. I was quickly also checking your statement, and you also mentioned lacking businesses in the ecosystem lacking legal or sustainable strategic expertise, and yeah, I wanted to ask whether you mean that will focus on Catalyst, or whether your scope is broader.
I would say it's broader if I understand the question right. I think what we need to do is think holistic and not just in one tiny sense. And if we get something from the sideline, we should pick it up. And the lack that I've been speaking of is just a simple thing is regarding GDPR. In Germany, especially in Europe, we have it. And most people that use a website and target European customers don't even go in GDPR, and that puts them into a position that they don't need to be in. And that's what we're currently working on within our working group. And you can visit us every Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the Cardano Discord, in the European Cardano Discord. And that's where we're discussing things like that and trying to create a framework. I hope I could answer your question.
Yes, if I may make a little follow-up question. So which community would you be representing, or communities or roles, or what do you see yourself representing?
I would say the guy with the stupid questions. Like I'm coming in and every time when I think I figured something out, then there's something new. And then there's another platform that I haven't seen yet. And this makes it incredibly hard for people that are totally new to the system to find their way around. And I think we should worship those as
Marcus,
well.
your time is
Yes,
up.
sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we're moving on to the last candidate. Is that correct, Lloyd?
We were Dumpling, but I actually was informed by the last candidate in chat that they have withdrawn their nomination already. There are a couple of things. There's a couple of housekeeping things, Dumpling, if you don't mind for a moment that I can take those on. There was some question about the drip drops team and what, because 3 of us had initially raised our nominations, and we had a conversation in house with the team, and I think that the decision that we came to together was that it was better not to risk to the larger community that we were running the vote and we were also candidates. So we came to a group decision that it was best that we remove our names from the nomination this time, focus on running the vote well, focus on getting it out and doing events like this to try to build up community awareness. I don't know if Kyle is here, and I believe Anthony's here as well, if either of you guys wanted to speak to that as well.
No, you covered it pretty good, Lloyd. Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks, Lloyd. And thank you guys, Catalyst, for trusting us to host your vote. And we hope you guys enjoy it. We're working hard and hopefully providing a UI, UX that will be used for a long time in the Catalyst circle. So thank you guys.
Hey, we really appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. And the other thing is that I noticed in the chat some people asking about the vote itself. So the vote is not taking place yet. What you're used to in the past with Catalyst is that everybody showed up, you listened to candidates, you voted, and that was it. We're actually having an on-chain vote using the drip drops tools. What will happen is we are currently building the user interface for you guys. As soon as it's ready for production, which is soon, but we can't give you the date yet, we will give you plenty of notice. You're going to know the date of the snapshot that's being taken, and so that you can put your ADA in your wallets that you want to vote with. The snapshot will happen, and then that you'll come to the Drip Drops website. You're going to choose your 5 favorite circle members, and it's diminishing returns. So in other words, your first choice gets 100% of your voting power. Your second choice gets 80% of your voting power. 60, 40, 20. So that way you list your 5 best candidates in order, and the top 5 of overall will be the 5 who will win the seats and will be charged with the responsibility of representing all of us in the Catalyst circle going forward. So I hope that clears up those things for everybody. And Dumpling, I'm going to pass it back to you. Thank you so much for everything you've done so far. I'm looking forward to the rest of the time here today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, Anthony, Kyle, Lloyd, and everybody on the Drip Drops team. Thank you guys for being transparent and showing integrity in this process. I do appreciate you guys providing a forum and the voting services for all of us. So appreciate the effort and the platform. Now, suggestion here, we are very good in time. I suggest we have another 60 to 90 minutes to take questions from the audience so the candidates can have more time to properly answer. Those who are against this idea, please do a handstand. I don't see anyone doing handstand. Good. Okay, so we're gonna have 60 to 90 extra minutes to answer questions. Now, I think everybody should get 3 minutes. Every candidate gets 3 minutes. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I will cue you, and then you tell us who this question is directed at, and then Cook Time will start a 3 minutes timer, and we are strict on time as well. So Kyle, I saw your hand up, but now you popped the hand down. Are you doing a handstand? I can't see you anymore. Okay. Oh, we have another Kyle, Kyle Wood. Kyle Wood, you're up.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have just a couple of fun, annoying, loaded questions for anybody that wants to try to tackle these 2 questions. The first one, shorter to ask, is are you able to detach yourself from your own personal convictions if you feel them beginning to impact your role as a representative of the community/communities? The second one, and I'll just put it up there. So typically in traditional politics, you always hear people arguing back and forth about removing tenured people to bring in quote unquote fresh blood, or the opposite of that, concerns around new people and their ability to have enough experience to fill the roles. Are you acutely aware of these typical points that people make and willing to prevent them from impacting you? And then, are you more open-endedly, what is your position on that question? So that was a very long 2 questions.
Who's this question directed at? Sorry, Kyle.
That would be any candidate that's willing to try to answer that.
Okay. Anyone wants to take this question?
I'll take it. This is Husky. So I think that I'm going to focus on the second part first. When you're talking about the belief that we need new blood, or people that have been in the system for too long are blind to what's going on around them, I do partially agree with that. But I think that the focus needs to be on bringing more eyes to the entire process, not just to the circle itself. Because as it stands, we are lacking participation. So increasing participation in Catalyst Circle is a good way to start, and then work our way outwards from there.
Yeah, thank you, Husky. It sounds great.
Great. Then we have Harsha.
I just have a general question for anyone that wants to answer, as any of the potential candidates that wants to answer. So as candidates, you'd be sensing problems from different communities, right? You'd be sensing problems from all the stakeholding communities. What are these communities that you have spent time with, and what is your experience with these communities that you'd be voicing for?
I'll take a first stab at that. I spent a lot of time in Catalyst, normal watering holes, so Zoom, and Meetup, and Swarm events and Discords. And I also spent a lot of time on Twitter, Twitter Spaces, tweeting. I hold open office hours, 30 minutes at a time for anybody in the community to just come and chat and ask me questions. So I get to meet a lot of people. And then as an educator, I also get to meet a lot of brand new people coming into the space who are coming from other blockchains into Cardano. So I get around, and I think that's good for anybody in the circle to have somewhat of a broad reach. It's my 2 lovely.
Thank you, Lido. Zoe.
I was wondering whether maybe somebody of those who mentioned it, some of you nominees mentioned the user experience and that we have to download the app and stuff. Do you have actual solutions, or are you is your network capable of actually solving that, or why did you mention it? Because it's, for me, it's a bit obvious.
So I'll take a stab at this one as well. I mean, this is Cardano. We are decentralized. I can guarantee you that there is a line of people who would be willing to participate in building something that would be more user-friendly. I mean, let's look at the Drip Drops team. They are building a voting system for us. I can guarantee you that that team alone would be willing to do the same thing. And I know that there are plenty of other teams that would also be willing to do it. It's just, we need the ability to do so, which is what we don't have at the moment. Maybe we need an API that plugs into Catalyst and people can build their own voting experience. There are many options that are out there, and it's just a matter of getting the ball rolling.
And if I may add a little follow-up, is that is this task necessary to be a Circle rep, or could you also do it without being on Circle?
I think you can do it without being a Circle rep. Now, when it comes to implementing the actual process, I do not believe that at this time there is a proper API that we can interface with in the current Catalyst, what do we call it, ecosystem or current setup. So I think that being in the circle is not necessary, but would definitely help that we can champion that particular aspect of Project Catalyst, or the need for that change, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Quazar.
Thank you. I wanted to jump back to Holy Macaroni's question a little bit about being able to be disinterested or disconnecting yourself from topics or ideas that aren't your own or that you disagree with. You know, that's really important for whoever's going to be in the circle, be able to not push your own personal agenda, but to hear from the community. And even though you don't agree with it, still support it if it is voted upon. George Lovegrove, you know, you and I love-hate relationship. You know, I don't get the categories and stuff, but I still support you, man. Like I'm there and I'm happy, and it's a fun challenge to be on that DAPS challenge. So, you know, being able to disconnect and not take it is a real crucial thing for us. And when it comes to being able to make changes or do things, like all of us here, everybody's doing circle shit. You're all doing the stuff that circles should be doing. We're all doing it every day. Now, if we can document it, process it, share it, and spread it, not COVID, but Catalyst, we've got a good shot at making an impact. So that's where I wanted to leave it right there.
Thank you, Quazar. Somebody asked if we're going by raised hands. Yes, please raise your hand so we know who to go to next. Next, we have Ubio and then Nin. Ubio.
So yeah, I've listened a lot to a lot of people, and so I just have a concern. I think since like joining Catalyst, I've had a lot of people raise issues about accessibility. And so my question is there anyone that is actually thinking about probably in this version of the circle where we are going to be having town halls that are not basically online? Is this a direction that we should be looking up from any of the candidates at any point in time, whereby, because issues of accessibility would also mean like, so again, yeah, and again, secondly, I think fundamental to that question is it, do we necessarily think it's a must for most town halls and Catalyst meetings to always be online? So I think that's the prerequisite of that question. And if yes, if no, are there thoughts on how we can actually evolve to real meetings, and how will we synchronize these kind of meetings and all of that? Like, is there anyone with such thoughts or opinion around that?
I'll jump in. I'm working on a pilot right now that if there is a town hall that someone can pick up a bounty to be a recorder for that town hall, what happened, and in links and resources, and have that documented in a way that can be disseminated to lots of different places. So I guess it's more of a call to action. If there are town hall that's happening offline, I think just to record that information somewhere public is a good next step. And if there are people interested in doing that, do reach out to me. Circle or not, this is something I would like to start like now for front end. So reach out. And if there's any offline town hall happening, which is super important in many places of the world, the internet comes in windows, right? It's not like available 24/7. You get them from 2 to 5, unless you pay lots of money for like data and mobile internet, right? The affordable internet comes in windows. So to get online is not always possible. So if those are happening, I would love to know where those are happening. Please reach out. I'll put my information in the chat.
So thank you, Lido. I received some really good feedback. In case somebody is super outspoken, some candidates are less outspoken, maybe one person will dictate all the answers. So to avoid that, I think we get rid of the time constraint. So for the same question, different candidates feel free to jump in and answer. So for instance, After Lido, if you have something to add, feel free to just jump in and add. But for people raising questions, please do raise your hands. We have Nin, next we have Max. Nin.
Yeah, I wanted to actually also address you, Bios. I love the idea. I've been to a lot of conferences lately, and I love in-person meetups. I think just meeting people in person and seeing their conviction and passion for a lot of issues that we face. And honestly, I've had discussions with some of our Catalyst members after a long day at the expo hall till like 4 a.m. And it was very heated and very respectful discussion where we settled our differences and pushed the needle forward. So I'll throw my hat in too to support this endeavor. There's CatalystCon happening in December. That is virtual, but maybe perhaps next year that can be in person. And just like Cardano Summit is hosted, in Switzerland, but they have local meetups, we can probably put together a task force to organize an in-person event. To me, is a lot of the decisions for Catalyst are happening, quote unquote, behind closed doors. They're not closed doors. They're broadcasted on YouTube, right? Catalyst Circle meetings, but and something that some of you have mentioned that resonated with me was we need to spread the information out there. Marketing and just knowledge sharing is extremely important. And the pace of Catalyst is so fast. We have almost every meeting now, almost 2 meetings every single day, every single week, for months, right? How are we able to more effectively disseminate information? And what would you do as a Catalyst circle to aid in that?
Can I jump in as well?
Yes, feel free, Marcus.
Cool, thank you. I actually tried to answer 2 questions. The first one is probably the easiest one. With the personality switch. When being in product development or design thinking, or whatever you do in that direction, when you start building, you have to switch personalities. And you have to dive into other people. And what I do, and people that have been working with me can probably confirm that, whenever I take a task, I'm asking myself, a public task, I'm asking myself and others if this is creating a conflict of interest. And if so, how can I or others limit myself in creating an advantage for me? For example, when it's the easiest example that I can say is the Twitter space. I was offered to have the access to it, and I said, okay, doesn't this create an outside conflict of interest when I trying to create a project on Cardano and I am part of the team and I have access to the Twitter account? And then thought about it. I said, okay, how I would myself is that I am only allowed to tweet about that space. And I think what we could do is, when we are as a group together, and whenever we see some constraints like this, we could try to write them down and create guidelines on this one. So just to make them aware. And I think the problem that arises from that is that it creates a new big book, but our responsibility is to dense it down then. And this applies to the second question as well, with developing apps or D-apps. I don't think a D-app is every time the right decision, but as Hosky said, I think we have the ecosystem to provide everything, and that's where we should lean onto, and that's what we should empower. Because when we see something in the circle, we shouldn't use that voice to empower ourselves to build that stuff, but to push it to the other people.
Thank you, Marcus. A notice for everybody, if you're a candidate, also feel free to raise your hand if you want to add some extra points that you couldn't get to earlier. Next, we have Max, followed by Curtis. Max.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. Short question. I'm always impressed by meaningful truth spoken in few words. The reason being that it's so difficult. So for everybody here who's trying to be part of Catalyst Circle, what in one sentence is your personal mission for becoming part of Catalyst Circle? Thanks a lot.
Making information available to everyone and accessible and easy digestible, comma.
Okay, I'll take the next shot, I guess. To encourage participation and to hold the circle itself accountable and transparent to everyone.
I'm running because I want to be able to share with the community all the good that is happening with the circle and the progress that's happening within the circle. And not only that, but to be able to take their concerns and bring it to the rest of the circle. I'm constantly in Twitter spaces. I interact with the SPO community on a daily basis. I interact with the NFT community on a daily basis. And I think that I will bring a very good outside opinion because as previously stated, I'm not a developer. I don't have a project per se. And so I bring a unique view to it. And I also want to make sure that we don't exclude people in Catalyst. We want everybody to be able to participate at different levels and have the ability to move, up the ladder, if you want to phrase it like that, without having to have the ability to be a dev or, be a person that's running some sort of protocol on chain.
Anyone else wants to add their one sentence? That was a Shakespearean sentence from Lee. Thank you, Lee.
Can I?
Okay.
Go ahead, Nebiyu.
Okay. Thanks, Ned. I just wanted to say I'm running on the platform of mostly collaboration, that we need to increase the collaboration in order to go where we need to.
For me, it's just to improve Catalyst for everyone and namely focus on empowering everybody to feel that they can make a difference in Catalyst. Because like I mentioned, right now decisions about Catalyst are made almost behind closed doors. And so first it comes with information and second it comes with potential to have action.
Who's next? Who has the one sentence ready? Right. If not, then I'm going to move on to the hands. Curtis and then Kyle. Curtis.
I'll do one quickly, actually. So mine would be more kind of, my one line would be making functional improvements to Catalyst based on really solid foundations. That is really a key thing that I'm trying to focus on.
George, could you say that again? You were really fast.
It is my gift, my fast speaking. Making functional improvements to Catalyst based on solid foundations, so proper analysis, really thinking things through. That's how I've been approaching Catalyst.
Thank you, George. Curtis.
Thank you. I may have waited too long to ask this question as some of the previous circle members are gone, but my question is targeted towards some of the previous circle members. I reviewed the GitHub Git books from all of the previous circles, and I saw the information that was captured from their experience. My question is, was there lessons learned or values that were obtained through that circle process that were not captured properly throughout that process or documented properly? And if so, how would you suggest that we improve that process so that all of the values that we learn through each version of the circle is retained instead of lost through another circle?
You know, Curtis, that's a really good question. And I think a lot of people who have criticized, at least in this last particular iteration of Circle, but I'm pretty sure previous iterations of Circle also, I think the people who don't like what a given circle might have decided or chosen don't understand the power or ignore the power of people coming independently to a circle and presenting a concept, an idea, and, you know, advocating for their position. You know, we were fortunate Drip Drops came to us because we were going around in circles talking about how fucked up voting has been in previous versions of Circle, right? And, you know, we as a group did not have a solution, but somebody from the community came forward and spoke about it. You know, the GPS group got a lot of criticism thrown at it because some people didn't like their concept or what they said and all of that. And they were horrified that we spent the time that we did speaking about the GPS proposal. But they came to us and they made a presentation and advocated for us to think about that. And so we did. Right. And I really think that the community should appreciate that possibility. Right. That's actually a good thing that we talked about the ideas that were pitched to us. That's what I would hope all circles would do, you know, in the future.
Thank you, Steve. After Kyle, I would like to hand the mic to Omolola because she raised her hand earlier, but somehow dropped. Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, my question comes as a ADA holder and participant in the ecosystem. You know, we receive ADA rewards as part of a critical component to the incentive mechanism of Cardano. And at some point, those rewards of inflation are going to deplete, and they're intended to be replaced by transaction volume. As members of the circle, how are you going to organize the framework of the Treasury to best ensure our chances, both from an infrastructure development standpoint, that the infrastructure, the runway is there so we can run, as well as an ecosystem for creation and facilitation of transaction volume, such to the point that that transaction volume can offset the loss of rewards once they're gone. So if you believe that that's something we should be focused on, I'd definitely love to hear from you.
I think we should be voting 10 times a day and boost those transactions up.
Any other candidate wants to take Kyle's question? I'm giving you guys a few extra seconds in case you want to think about it.
I can answer that real quick. Kyle, I believe in a more optimal voting and fund distribution that's more optimal than what we have currently, so that more impactful projects that will actually grow the ecosystem will get funded, number one. Number two is actually supporting the funded projects, because running and creating impact and increasing and building ecosystem, building a business isn't just getting money. It's everything that happens before that and after that. And that's very difficult. And that's something that's missing in a Catalyst or in a Cardano ecosystem. And there's a lot more, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Nin. If no more answers, I'm going to hand over to Omolola and then followed by Zoe.
I can jump in. Before yesterday, I actually thought we could use the min fees of stake pools and the fees that we get. But I think that we need to create kind of business models around the communities we're building. And I think that would be a responsibility that we have to create as a circle. I don't have a definite answer to that, but that would be my take. I think first and foremost, to wrap it up, I thought stake pools could deliver it, but I learned yesterday it's not going to be there. Then second, I would say we have to create own businesses to not be dependent on funding solely, but maybe being able to stand on their own feet as Catalyst.
I would like to add one thing to that. And I think as the chain grows, the transaction numbers will grow. As it stands right now, Cardano has sat mostly around the 500,000 transactions per epoch, except for a couple of epochs back in November. So if we want to see the treasury not, I mean, it's going to be depleted, period. But if we want to keep that treasury funded, we need to increase adoption. And that, I think, has to be the priority. When we've heard Charles talk about what is to come is transactions and fees from transactions that will be paid in other tokens to stake pool operators. That's something that will fund them, not something that will fund the current treasury. So growth, I think, should be the priority. More users means more transactions, which means more funds go to the treasury. So let's focus on that particular aspect. And I think the rest can help to take care of itself.
I think one of the biggest parameters that's quite important at the moment is obviously the amount of funding that's going into each of the rounds, which is currently dictated by IOG. And it likely makes sense for them to continue doing that until there's a point we have the mechanisms in place to be like, how much funding do we have in the total treasury? And how much percentage of that do we want to use over like a yearly basis or a fund basis to kind of think about this kind of forward planning? And at the moment, we don't really have the tools and processes to really kind of do that kind of forward thinking as a community. And I guess that would be the kind of key things I would want to see more of that in place before IOG goes, okay, you guys can now decide if you want to use the whole treasury in a single round, you can. I don't think IOG are going to do that anytime soon, just because of the, obviously severity of if that happens.
Thank you, George. Omolola and then Zoe.
Okay, awesome.
Is it just me, or can you also not hear her?
No, I'm not hearing her at all.
Omolola, you might have a mic problem. We cannot hear you. Right. Can someone DM her in the chat? In the meanwhile, let's go over to Zoe and wait for Omolola when she comes back. Zoe.
Hey, I wanted to ask specifically.
So, in addition to what I've said, would like to
Omolola, hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
You dropped after like a few seconds. Could you repeat what you were saying from the very beginning?
Okay, so I was saying that in addition to what I've said, I would also like to look for the reason why I'm actually joining, asking for, looking for running for a seat in Catalyst Circle is just to to look for more ways in which more impactful projects would also be funded, because in the case of the just concluded for 9, I actually took my time to check different proposals and noticed that a lot of impactful projects were not funded. It was actually bad, and in a way it was not good, but I know that due to the fact of funding issue and all, so also to look into cases where more initiatives into which more projects can actually get more funded, and also to look into the educational system in which we need more educations for different members of Cardano community in general at large. So thank you.
Thank you, Omolola. Zoe.
Okay, I wanted to ask what the reach out looks like for, or marketing for I don't know, preferably circle nominees who didn't speak a lot now, in this round because I feel like this is a problem and the issue beyond Catalyst. We are building Web3 on Web2 infrastructure, which is now our communication, especially, is based on social media messengers. So how do you imagine a reach out or a marketing without just spamming Twitter and Telegram?
Well, you literally just took my main process to engage, but if we're real, I think it has to be, we have to go where our community is. And at this time, the Cardano community is on Twitter, Discords, Reddit. You have to go there. It's inevitable, unfortunately, at this time, with the current infrastructure that we have, that we can try to outreach in some sort of Web3 only option, because as it stands, Web 2 and Web 3, unfortunately, go hand in hand. So like with anything we do, we have to go to where our community is. So we cannot separate Web 2 social media and Web 3, at least not at this point.
I also want to jump in real quick. I think Hosky here has a huge reach, and if all of us on the circle put our heads and our efforts together, we can divide and conquer, right? There are literally more channels than I can count for Catalyst: Discord, Telegram, Twitter, in-person, Zoom calls, Google Meet calls, all the different NFT and DeFi Cardano alliances. But I think we can, if we can divide and conquer and focus on education and set an action item every meeting, right? This is the message that we need to spread. Then we can at least get that one message out, if not more. Right? There's YouTube. It's like, it's a lot for one person, but together I think we can make it.
I think what we also need to respect is which community is using which channel. For example, from what I feel, I haven't measured it yet, the German community doesn't use Twitter too much. So we have to find other channels and so on and so on. And I think that's where we can learn from each other, from those that are entrepreneurs, of those who have been in marketing processes already and in customer acquisitions. They can tell you where did they find the customers. And then we put that information together and create a big strategy plan. Maybe putting languages first together, and then figuring out if we can have countries that are working differently and going from there.
Thank you. We have 3 raised hands. After Peter, I want to announce some great questions from Tommy. Maybe he doesn't want to speak. In that case, I will read his questions after Peter. So we have Nin, followed by Jock. Nin.
Hey guys, this question comes from as a Catalyst member and Catalyst Circle observer, and just came from this meeting when I thought about when I thought about my own Catalyst nomination. We've had a lot of drama in Catalyst Circle, obviously, but one of the most damaging things is when you are running for Catalyst Circle, whether you're nominated or somebody else nominates you, right? You are now committing for 6 months. Right? 6 months is flies by. Time flies really fast, but it is set amount of time. Right? It is a sacrifice, especially if you're putting in real work. And the most damaging thing to the community is if a Catalyst Circle member quits. Month in, 2 months in, 4 months in, because it's hard or because they face some challenges or because whatever, right? I just wanna hear from some of the nominees. I know the answer for myself, right? But yeah, are you in this for the full 6 months, whether it's rainy or sunny day?
I think the success of any one individual can oftentimes be narrowed down to time management. So I think that in order to last the entire 6-month commitment, people have to be able to commit a set amount of time. They have to be able to manage what time they have, especially those that have other projects or other jobs. So I think as far as for me, time management has always been something that I can struggle with because I am online way too much. So it's just a matter of making the time for Catalyst, circle meetings, town halls, Twitter spaces, whatever the case may be. And I think that that's going to be up to each individual on how they handle it. But I would just say time management is very important for everybody in the circle so that they have enough time dedicated to this very important process on Cardano.
You were muted, but that's exactly the question that I asked myself before I jumped in, and I got the schedule set for Circle, what we are supposed to do, and that we need to grow help growing the community and be communicators foremost, because I don't expect us to build everything. We cannot do that. And I think your approach with solving one problem at a time is a good approach, right? Maybe we make it even to 1.5. And yeah, I think I think the question here is, I think actually everybody here who nominated themselves or got nominated would last the 6 months, no matter what. I think that's just not a fact, but a belief.
Yeah, I just want to say, upon nomination, I thought about this as well, and I've entered it knowing that there is going to be no glory in this position, and in fact, the pitchforks are going to be out for whoever does get elected. Anything that goes wrong in Catalyst, the community tends to blame the circle for that. So yes, considering all that, I will be here through it, whether it's good or bad, not going anywhere if elected.
Thank you, guys. TCT and Ozgur, you guys, feel free to talk more and let us get to know you guys and your missions more. I know some other candidates have been very outspoken today, so encouraging you guys to raise hands and jump into the conversation with us. Jock.
Hey guys, so I have a question and it might be a follow-up to go along with that. So currently with DREPs, we are going to a more representative form of governance. And I'm curious, one is to how the Catalyst Circle will interact with the DREPs. What will the role be of Catalyst Circle members as far as providing guidance and or interacting with the DREPs? And then from there, once that's answered, I'd love to hear from Lloyd and others that really haven't been talking very much as far as that particular subject. And then I'll probably have a follow-up after that.
I'm staying out of this. I'm only host duties today because I did remove my candidacy. So we can talk about that in a different format later.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lloyd. I do appreciate your Catalyst statement. So just so you know, very in depth compared to some of the others. So there's a little bit more thought put into that, I feel like. So yeah, at some point we'll have a discussion around it. Okay. Anybody else?
I'd love to. And, I will say this, the stuff that's in my platform statement, I mean, that to me was the most important statement to make to Catalyst. So, and I'm going to get out of the way again, but that was why I wrote those statements. I did believe them.
Anyone else? Okay, then we move on to Peter.
Sorry, Peter. Sorry. I think it's our responsibility to not let things unanswered. No matter how stupid the answer might be at first, but we have to figure things out. I think that we should be there to consult and to communicate forth and back what the DREPs want. And we should jump in if we have the feeling that a DREP would abuse their position. And we need to also jump in to see if the DREP is representing the community that is in that in the trust, and then also try to support. I think that increases the scope of what the circle does quite a lot, but I think it also helps us to reflect and not to disconnect from the community. That would be just my first approach to it without being exactly sure.
Thank you, Martin.
I want to add something to that. It's a new process. So I'm not going to say, oh, this is what has to happen. This is what we're going to be doing. DREP is a new process. Circle is a little more established. Obviously, it's been around for a longer period of time, but the DREP process still is in its infancy. We're not there yet. So I think as Catalyst Circle, we need to be open and we actually need to actively look for what the role or what sort of interaction we have with DREPs. So I think as it stands right now, because it's so new, it's going to be a learning experience for both DREPs as well as people in the Catalyst Circle and how we interact with the DREPs.
And DREPs should check on us as well. Sorry, I just wrote it in the chat, but I think it needs to be outspoken.
Thank you. Blackjack, your hand is still up. Are you done with the question? Can we move on to Peter? I think he's driving or he got pulled up by a cop. Peter.
Plan around vacation, and can you just in one sentence? Right.
Darling, you want to start, or because you started off, or should I?
I'll
Okay.
just say what I was gonna say, and then you can go, Marcus. I've heard conversation from Hazel, the community member behind Hazelbot. He's had some ideas around process documentation and some formal and structural way of like, this is how you document a thing, or this. So there are framework. I personally am familiar with these kinds of structures around when information are created, when they change, but there are frameworks that are used by industry that could be adopted, that if any information is being created, and this seems like something that would fall in the purview of the circle, whether IOG is creating it, whether a community member is creating it, this is how you do it, this is what they look like, this is where it goes, you know, those kinds of things. I feel like if we can standardize around information pipeline, then people who are already doing the jobs of posting stuff to Reddit and posting stuff to Twitter, it makes it much easier on them, you know, having like circles of circles. The information is going one place, or it's going a few places in the same format or whatever that's consistent. And then the Twitter people are picking it up and sharing it. The Reddit people are picking it up and sharing it. The people that are doing in-person town halls are picking up and sharing it. So definitely some standardization would be a good thing for the circle to sort of figure out and get adoption around.
Yeah, what I want to add is, I think we should implement as one standard to point to one source where newcomers will, and even people that are getting distracted, will find the community portals to get the information. Right, like we have already Twitter, we have all the other spaces, but I feel whenever I jump into a community, I have to find my way around, and where are things? That's what I'm searching all the time. Especially when you jump into Catalyst, you just get lost in the beginning, and then you have this wonderful newsletter so far, and within the newsletter, everything is listed up, but this needs to be everywhere. Everywhere where Circle is present, we need to see that list. That would be my take. And this is a low-hanging fruit that we could actually accomplish. Maybe I haven't just seen it, and it is there, but I haven't seen it. And that's where I would start.
Here's a couple of more crazy ideas, Peter. For example, we should have like a challenge for Catalyst improvement process, something where circle members or other people can just make a post, and people can comment on that. People like Catalyst, a large part of Catalyst lives on idea scale anyway, right? The comments there, it's open discourse. People can comment and have a discussion. And when you make a comment on something you follow, people get emails for it. You can follow different topics. You know, you can put the proposal on link trees, right? I have a link tree. Every Catalyst Circle member can have a link tree, and you know who your reps are. So you just go to the link tree and click on what's the latest thing, right? There's low-hanging fruits and easy things to do, and then there's like more difficult, more methodical, like how to educate the community. That's a little bit harder than just disseminate information.
Thank you, Nin. Thank you, Peter. Before we continue, I'd like to announce that we have been going on for almost 2.5 hours. We're going to close this in 40 minutes. It's really great. We're having some back and forth discussions about improving Catalyst and the circle. However, it's important to also know the goal of today's meeting is to get to know our candidates. So I really strongly encourage our candidates who haven't really been speaking a lot. Be brave. We're very friendly. Come talk to us. Raise your hand. Join us in the discussion. Right. Before I hand the mic to Harsha, there's this question from Tommy. I think it's very interesting. This is towards all the candidates. Question is, are you comfortable being chosen by those who have the most ADA while ignoring those who don't? I assume he's referring to ADA voting power. Those who have millions of ADA have more voting power. So are you comfortable being chosen by the whales while ignoring those who don't have that much ADA? Over to you, candidates.
I guess I'll go first on this one. Comfortable with it? I wouldn't say that I'm comfortable with it, but I also wouldn't say that it means that we're forgetting the people who are not large bag holders. Just because we may be elected by people who are considered whales does not mean that we are just going to forget those who don't have that much. That's one of the reasons why I ran. I want to make sure that the little guy isn't getting forgot about or isn't getting left behind. And I believe that through multiple iterations, and especially once DIDs come into play, that we will have a different voting mechanism, or at least I'll be pushing for different voting mechanism for Catalyst Circle. But make no mistake, I will not solely look out for the interest of the whales, but every member of the community.
So I will add something to this. In the past, Catalyst Circle voting has happened on Google Documents. We are already moving into something that is much more verifiable because it's on chain. So I do believe this is the right step. Is ADA going to be important when it comes to governance? Yes, and it's not just for this Catalyst Circle vote, but also for the Voltaire era. So going forward, there are some decisions that we're going to have to make on how the voting power is going to be used, how the bags of whales are going to affect the voting. So it's something that we have to get right. Personally, I think that this current vote is as close to real on-chain governance that we've had on Cardano. Next, as far as Catalyst Circle reps, we have a duty to represent everybody, not just the whales, not just those that have large bags. So as far as that goes, it's not something that I think based on who votes for you, you're going to represent them more. No, it needs to be impartial. We have to look at the needs of everybody, not just certain individuals.
I will look at the votes just for a statistical reason, because I think that ties into the question of disconnecting yourself. And then you have that what and probably that's for most of us the case, what we stand for. We have it in our statements. So while we have the voting systems and while we have much ADA, people are voting hopefully for what we are standing for. And I haven't been lobbied yet, so this wouldn't be an issue. Did you ask also the second and third and fourth question, Dumpling? I didn't.
Just wanted to add something on this one before we go ahead. The question, if you don't mind, Marcus.
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, both Hosky and Marcus have said it, whether it is, obviously, I don't think any of us were lobbied by the whales, but the issue comes in, is our platform something that benefits the whales, in which case they would vote for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they ask you to, support their ideas. That is where the problem will come in. that, I mean, ideally, I mean, it is the best system that we have at the moment, the only system we have at the moment, but it needs to be improved. I believe a few town halls ago, there was a suggestion, I don't know what happened then, about square rooting votes, which would decrease the power of the wells, but at the same time, they still would have more say than the rest. But I would like to see that something like that happen in the future or in the near future, where I mean, whatever votes that you have would be square rooted, and that is the actual vote that you'd have, which is something that maybe we could look into. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Just a one-liner. Voting for the circle, I'm having trouble comprehending where this will come from if I will voted for a circle member. But that's just me.
I want to ask a question back. Steve Lockhart, you said no one in this community has ever rationalized these two things for me. What are you referring to?
The arguments that people put forward that we should be voting one person, one vote, as opposed to one ADA, one vote. I mean, it is a community built on top of proof of stake, right? Your work and your stake, however you got it in ADA, should be counting for something. It counts for something in the stake pool protocol. It should count for something in the community. I worked hard for my ADA. I'm not a whale, but yeah, I appreciate my voting power, as little as it is.
So, but how would I then, if I would be voted like fully by whales, which is not going to happen, I think. How would I then say, okay, I'm just acting for the whales? That's the question that I'm struggling with, because yes, of course, they could approach me personally and say, hey, I vote for you. But I think that's a question of integrity. And if somebody is not, do you say integer as well in the US in English?
Yes.
Yeah. Then we will not find out that by our statements. We will see that by the actions. No?
I think Project Catalyst has more of an incentive of whales to support you. There was a tweet a while back that somebody just jokingly posted sarcastically saying that, I basically bribed the whales to vote my proposal. If you really want to look at something that could be problematic and there are financial incentives, that is Project Catalyst and the funding rounds. I don't think that it is something that is as major of an issue in the circle voting, because even if a whale votes for, say, Lido and he's backed by, I don't know, every whale on Cardano, there's really no financial incentive directly tied to them having him elected.
And I would also point out that, these are the reasons for no votes, right? Like you get a couple of whales voting on some proposal that the larger community doesn't agree with, they can vote no. If you want to see a broad cross-section of the community represented on Circle version 4, then those guys that you appreciate and are whales, you can vote as your 5th choice. And those people who are running that you would like to see represented, you can make them your 1st choice. And I think this is where, we have to use the system that is there. And I think that there is a way to do that. But, like there have been, ever since I've been involved since Fund 2, there have been people who said, oh, no proposal should be voted no upon. And I heartily disagree. There has been real shit proposed and it should have been voted no. So, I think, people need to quit being shy about it and use it for what it is.
TCT and Quazar, please step forward and voice your opinions on this matter. TCT.
Yeah. Just like specifically on the voting mechanisms. That's something that I think we've heard Charles sort of mention with this members-based org, right? When you have this organization, first we need to really focus on what the mission is. And in Cardano's case, we have sort of this really broad mission, but many other missions and incentives that all these different participants are, working towards, whether it's a personal mission or a group mission, like a organization like ADA or Catalyst Circle, whatever. So we need all of that. So ADA definitely plays a major role in that, but there are other ways to build this stake, right? Stake could be anything, and we have the ability to translate that into a digital form. So it could be ADA, it could be GitHub commits, it could be information, articles written, it could be attendance at meetings like this. So that's, I think, what we have to look at when we're trying to figure out this, like, all-encompassing voting power, right? But yeah, your ADA that you've earned, like you said, somebody said they worked really hard for this. They've been here since the beginning. They put everything they have into it. That should definitely be accounted for, as well as all those other things I mentioned. And so that's how I think we should be thinking about this. Just like we have ADA, we can represent all these other digital, we can represent all this other stake, right, digitally alongside ADA, and weight them accordingly. That way, somebody who might not have, who might have a very small bag of ADA, has been here for years, participating in something like Catalyst Circle, could still build up stake in this network. And the problem is now, like, that's the goal, right? Building up the stake. What we need to figure out is, like, how to represent that stake in the digital form alongside something like ADA.
Quazar, and then Ozgur has his hand up for ages. Quazar.
Thanks for listening.
When it comes to the question that Tommy had raised about being voted on for the wells, or by wells, to vote for the circle, there's only a 5 ADA limit on this one. So I think that's a huge victory for the community. And I don't want this election for the circle to be questioned because of the voting mechanism as it is right now. Like, it's not perfect. There's no one governance system, one voting system that's right for every type of situation. There's got to be multiples. So, as a community, the tech is coming along, we're building it, things are advancing, these are iterations. So, yeah, I don't like well voting in Project Catalyst on proposals. It messes stuff up, and it really, has an impact here. We all know that, we're aware of it. We still agree to carry on, move forward. And that's the important part here, is to carry on and be willing to make these improvements as a community and listen to one another and their experiences. So do I feel bad about all of the wells that are going to be voting for Hosky or TCT or Lido? No, because this is just one iteration. There will be a version 5. Who knows? 4 might split into 4.5. There are multiple options here. So, it's a good point, Tommy, but it's also, I don't want it to tarnish or dampen anyone's spirits. This is the first time. All you need is 5 ADA. Rock and roll. It's awesome.
Thank you, Quazar. Ozgur.
Yeah, thank you very much. Wales wouldn't vote for me, I guess, because I don't have any contact with them. But if this is the case, well, I would be okay with that, because so far it's an experimental thing. It is just a 4th circle, 4th time that we are going to do that. And we will see, I hope, new faces every time. And for example, I was not encouraged to be in the first 3 circle. I didn't apply for it because, as someone asked, I think Nina, I couldn't find this time management properly, that I could spend some time for Catalyst Circle. I'm involved in different things like challenge team and things like that. And this kind of things already taking so much time on me. But this time I feel like I can make it, because at the end of this year, I'm planning to leave the job. So I can be okay with that role. So in case I'm voted by Wales, I would be okay with that. And we gather some evidence that some people are humiliating the process. And then if this is the case, then we find a way to overcome it as a community, I believe. And it's all about learning that through we can create through Catalyst Circle, I believe.
Thank you, Ozgur. Quick reminder, we have about 20 minutes left and we have a few hands up, so please try to be brief. Secondly, the limelight should be on our candidates today, so let's keep the conversation about and around our candidates. Next, we have Harsha, followed by Zoe. Harsha, welcome.
Hey, so I have a question for the candidates. Until now, the candidates have been speaking about what they do for the community as circle members. But I wanted to bring the conversation to the rewards for the circle members. What kind of rewards, and I don't just mean financial rewards, but what kind of rewards do you think would attract the people that have the community's best intentions in mind? And the second part to that question is, as circle members, once you are elected, what are the metrics, performance metrics that needs to be followed to understand how each of the circle members are performing?
I'll take a stab at the first one. If you want to make Circle more attractive with financial incentives, you're going to attract the wrong people. So I think that should Circle members be rewarded for their time? Sure, I have no issue with that. But if you make it so attractive, then it just becomes somebody wanting to pick up a paycheck. And I think if it's, I personally don't even know what Circle members currently get. I don't care because that's not what I'm here for. It's about looking at what problems are in front of us and working together to deal with them. So as far as incentives, that's not one of the reasons I would even consider joining Circle, because I think that Circle is, or in Catalyst as a whole, is much bigger than just a financial incentive.
You'd be getting $1,000 a month, Hosky. So, you can give it to the Hare Krishnas if you want. That might be a good idea, a little outreach.
So as someone who have consistently adjusted my fiat mining situation to the point where is it barely enough to feed my family and then still have time to do Cardano. I think making someone have to choose between those two things is a risky proposition. I think being in a circle should be a livable wage. When people build companies, Cardano is built by livable wages, right? When people build companies, they do it on livable wages. The same thing should be for the circle. Yes, it's going to attract people just for the money, but so does everything else, right? So there needs to be screening process, and if we have really good feedback loops. The second question about tracking accomplishments, if we have really good processes, it seems like we have a candidate or close feedback loops and tickets and weekly reports. It should be quite easy to spot a poor employee, right? That's my two lovelaces.
I would respectfully disagree with Hosky. I think the circle member seat should be somewhat compensated if it's $1,000 a month. That's good because it helps. It allows other members in our community that are not as well off to actually, dedicate more time towards being effective members of the circle. For me, I'm not doing it for the money. I'll use the cash to help me be a more effective circle member by delegating, hiring, whatever needs to be done, posting bounties to do education and spread information, right? But if circle is only to be a volunteer role, it should only be a and I welcome I welcome that. I respect that opinion as well. But it should be selective, right? For people who can afford it, who are well off, that they're well taken care of. And yes, I got this hoodie from 8 people. It's awesome. But that's a different topic. But on my point, I do want to see more new people on the circle if possible, as well as people who are, from Africa and other countries who are normally not represented, on the circle in the past.
I was briefly disconnected, but I had to answer in another meeting. But yeah, I agree with Ning here on this one, because we and I've been reading that circle is something only for people that can afford it. I have to say I'm completely tied, not completely, but let's say to a big part tied to the Cardano ecosystem. What I'm doing now, I'm doing it completely for free. And the thing that I get from it is exposure. And I learn a lot about how I would do things and how I have to approach them correctly within my project. So that's what I get back now. Whatever I would earn, if I would earn something then, I can use it to work on my project within the Cardano ecosystem, which would help it, hopefully. And it helps me to dedicate more time to put effort into research, right? That's also one thing. As we all figured out now, this is a lot of work if you want to do it right, because you have to evaluate different opinions, and not just the very first one, but you have to read them through and educate yourself about that you didn't know before. And I think that's a lot to learn. And I think we need to understand probably is that even if we start out now, the first meetings will probably be a bit slower. We will have a lot of ideas, but we will still have to check against that what has been already done and accomplished. And I hope that the old circle members will be there to support us with that. But I'm pretty sure about that because they have been very passionate about what they've been doing.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcus. Let's see. Next question we have up is Zoe.
Thank you. My question would actually address the organizers, and it is people who were nominated and didn't submit the platform statement are obviously disqualified. Are people who did submit a platform statement but did not show up here, are they disqualified as well, or are we only voting based on the platform statements? Or wasn't that planned yet, discussed?
I'm no candidate or the organizer, but I guess showing up is really important. 80% of the job, right, is showing up. That's my two Lovelaces. It's not a decision.
But the notice was very short. I don't think everybody got it. And some have, how you call it, fiat mining jobs. And they cannot just get out there. For example, I was texting forth and back with Joanna, and she just is in a meeting and she cannot leave it at the moment. And I think she wanted to be there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. If this meeting was on a Thursday, I wouldn't have been able to be there either.
Yeah. In fairness to everyone, this is not a requirement of your candidacy. This was something that our team felt was important to reach out to the community and give as many as we're available a platform to work from. Originally, this was planned to be an after town hall event with the normal Catalyst town halls, and there were a cancellation of town halls due to the pause. So because of that, we still tried to march forward, and we put this event together the best we could. So there's nothing about this that's required for your candidacy, and if the other candidates have some information they'd like to share, we'll see what we can do to help put that information out as well.
Thank you for clarifying. My apologies. I thought this is clearly stated that you need to attend this to be able to be voted for, but that's good to know. Yeah, people have fiat mining jobs, unfortunately, so far, before Ada comes further. I didn't say that. Curtis.
Thank you. First off, Lloyd, I appreciate you creating the space. Thank you for having this and allowing us to be here. I will state, though, in my case, I got the email at the very start of this meeting, so I was already here because of a swarm notification that I got from Discord. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have known myself. But and I do think that kind of generates the people who are here to see who the candidates are and vote based off of that. The people that missed out on it may miss out on those potential votes. But I do appreciate the space. Thank you. So my question is actually more of a question to respond to Harsha. He asked about, getting metrics and measurements to see participation in the Catalyst Circle. To ask against that is, what would those metrics be used, for, and what power would they hold, or what would be the utility of those metrics? We can see, in a small community where we're working in a lot of these side communities, that there's a level of trust between the human beings, and you can use that as weighted, power. But if you have metrics that say whether you're doing a good job or not so good job, what are you going to do with that information that differs from that human to human relationship?
Don't we have a vote of confidence as part of the structure?
We do. At the 3-month mark, there will be a vote of confidence.
Seems like that metrics might come up if there was one.
No comments from other candidates?
I'd like to make a couple of comments. Mary does not go dry. Oh shoot. The metrics and how to measure success. I don't think we're looking to define success yet, but just being able to provide some metrics, provide results of the engagement of what works, what doesn't, and see if we can find a way to build a structure or a system to generate meaningful participation and a way to measure whatever type of KPIs we create. One of the questions about the incentives or the rewards or compensation for Circle, right now there's none for CCV4. The Circle did not put in a proposal in Fund 9, so nothing was funded there. So it's really up to, I believe, the community and IOG to agree or define what type of rewards will be available for CCV4. The conversations that have been had with IOG and a loose agreement here is $90K for 15 people for 6 months. That's not necessarily a living wage. $1,000 a month, it helps, but is it enough for what I think we're all considering a very important body or entity or movement in Catalyst? Like, I personally think 90 is a bit of an insult. I think it should be about 160, like 1% of what is currently paid to the referrers and challenge teams and things of those types of organizations or groups. Roger. Hold on, one last thing. There's a ton of work that's went into the Circle 1, 2, and 3, specifically 1, 2, and 3.0 to 3.4, which is the documenting which is creating the timestamps, which is organizing these things. There's a lot of work to be done there. And it takes a village, so to speak, or villages. Now I'm done.
On that note, it seems like the circle isn't just filling a void that's like totally has zero energy right now. Or maybe if there wasn't a circle, there would be a paid employee at IOG doing some of this stuff, right? And so I feel like if we're trying to introduce that could potentially, I think someone mentioned cut the umbilical cord, right? That needs to be, and maybe this is an incremental thing, right? It's 90K today, we're doing one thing. In 6 months, we're doing two things. It's 1%. In 18 months, we're doing three things, right? And I can see that progression of as the responsibility grows, so does the compensation, so that it does become a thing. You know, there's a whole team at IOG right now that has full-time salaries, and they're like the Catalyst team, right? So it's important to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I definitely have to add on that, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, like you have the Catalyst team that are working in IOG that have full-time salaries, and that is a centralized company that is, you know, kind of dictating the changes for Catalyst at the moment. So for us to move from that to the community, well, what is the format that we want to have for the people in the community to have control over how that is maintained and improved? Now, you could obviously approach that in a few different ways. You could have it so there's a number of people full-time in the community. You could have a number of people that are part-time. You could have, you know, lots of small task categorizations. And the key thing you've got to think about is what is the work that needs to be done? Is it deep, complex work? Is it, you know, nice, simple, you just got to vote on these, you know, certain tasks here? You've got to aggregate the complexities of the system and say, what is the right response to, you know, the requirements of that system and maintaining and improving it? For instance, I think it'd be very difficult for someone who's working on the Cardano protocol itself to do that, you know, on like a 1 day a week kind of bandwidth. Like it'd be hard to go into the depths of it. So for, you know, just from that kind of side of the fence, if that's moving into the community and other kind of, you know, not just IOG, then we're going to have incentive models that support those structures. This is a big reason why, this only reason actually, only actual reason I was working on funding categorization from the start is because you need that kind of recurring incentive just so you can focus on whatever area you're improving. For me, I'm just trying to improve Catalyst. So if I can just get that sorted, so I'm flexible and paid as a developer, so my background is a developer, but also just doing analysis, then I could just focus fully on solving that task to the highest ability. So it's an ongoing conversation, but this is why I spent so much time on incentive structures, because incentives rule everything. It's like it allows people to have the capacity to do the things that need to be done to improve the systems. It's very hard to do that if you're not compensated at all. If you've got no income and you want to do that full time, you need some solution to that. So that'd be my 2 cents on that.
I was thinking about this for a while, and even the metrics and tracking for circle reps, right? There's 2 things that I think circle reps should be tracked by: time spent and outcome, right? If you spend time in meetings, doing something, researching, whatever, just track it. There's a bunch of Chrome extension you can track and make public available, websites you browse and so on. But at the same time, also fill out like what is the outcome of all this time spent research or meetings, right? And that can be directly linked to compensation. For circle reps that don't need the cash, they can waive it and they can run with that on the platform. Hey, I don't need cash for my own participation in Catalyst. For others who do need cash, just like, you know, if you have conference tickets, some people can afford to buy $1,000 or $10,000 conference ticket, and some people don't. They apply for conference ticket scholarships or discounted tickets, student tickets, right? And just like conferences, we shouldn't like keep people from having a choice, but also in the spirit of empowering individuals to feel like they matter and they can participate. I do believe that there should be, in an ideal world, right, there should be some form of compensation for those circle reps that need it in order to be effective circle reps. And that comes with trade-off. That comes with reporting and outcomes.
I have to strongly disagree with one part here, and that's making a difference in if there is one payment structure. I've been working on ships for a while, and when I was told how Filipinos are getting paid, I got sick. It was generally half of that what European, North American people got, and this just sucks. Why shouldn't Filipinos get wealthy working the same job as Western people do, just because the country infrastructure is messed up? This doesn't make sense to me. So, and by creating differences, if somebody wants to give up a pay freely, then they can do that. However, it puts pressure on everybody. And that's what I would try to remove in that way. Either pay everybody the same or nothing. And nothing is, from what I see with Quazar, he's adding a lot of time to this. I think the other ones do it too. And if it's on the table, then let's just make it a cut. Say, okay, that's the time that you want to commit, and every job in the world has some extra time for learning, etc. So this cannot be tracked and always measured.
Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate your points. I do think that's a very important topic that we should have a thorough debate on, maybe in another different meeting. We are closing in towards the end. I see Quazar has his hand up, so I'm going to ask Quazar to make a brief point, and then I'll hand the mic over to our host today to do the summary. Quazar.
Thank you, Dumpling. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The brief point, compensation. Ultimately, when comparing it to IOG, Project Catalyst in this community can move a lot faster than any centralized authority or figure or organization once we're organized. So it will not require that full-time compensation. However, I believe the work that we're doing is much more valuable than a salaried position. I don't want us to resort back to employer work-related models, because that system is slowly going away. So it's a chance for all of us to think outside the box and see what value is created and what things are worth. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you all.
Thank you, Quazar. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through this session with all of us. Appreciate your passion in Catalyst. And somebody said this is dry. Well, we're offended. We're very sexy here in this conversation. Over to you, Lloyd.
Dumpling, thank you so much. Thank you to all of the nominees who participated. Thank you to all the community members who have come out today to listen, learn, and meet your candidates. To those candidates that couldn't make it out today, we still would love to hear from you. So please reach out. Please place some statements and videos in your Cardano forum posts. To the entire community, Drip Drops is looking forward to hosting this vote for the community. Our next steps are to complete the technical requirements that we have, and as soon as those technical requirements are fully tested, soon here, we will announce the exact date that we will take the snapshot and the exact dates of the vote. The vote is going to last for 10 days, 2 epochs. You will vote with our system in a safe and easy to follow way, we hope. And we will be providing documentation on how to get through it, videos, all that good stuff. And we are very much looking forward to this next experiment in governance for the entire Cardano community. Thank you all for your participation today, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks, Dumpling.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.
Have a good one, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Thanks again.
Peace.
Why is your hand up, Quazar? Put your hands down.